Well, hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. We're so excited to have all of you. My name is Lindy Gardner. I'm the program director for WWIN, and this workshop is part of our Activate You Women's Empowerment Conference series. So we offer these free workshops every month, and next month in June, we'll have one on personal branding called Shine, Uncover, and Activate Your Brand. So join us for that one as well, and you can view our past workshops on the website if you would like to. So this will be recorded. You can watch it back later or share it with others. If you would like to do that, you'll receive an email tomorrow with some additional resources as well as the recording link. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our speakers. I'd like to introduce Judy Lee, who's an embodiment photographer and women's speak leader, and Carol Gavhane, founder of Asha Blooms. We're so excited to have these two incredible, very inspiring women here today for our Activate You workshop.
Thank you, Lindy. I'm going to go ahead and replace myself. And we like to start these events by creating a container for how we're going to show up for today. So I ask you to type in the chat, yes, if you agree. And the first thing we're going to do is recognize that we all have inherent worth. So I recommend, or I ask you to type yes. Thank you. Second, we're going to let go of self-judgment. I think one of the things that we really struggle with is self-judgment, especially when it comes to fear. So we're going to let go of that in this space. Yes? Great. And then the third is that we're all imperfect human beings, and that's okay. That's part of the human experience, is to be imperfect. And we're going to type yes to that. Thank you for everybody for participating and being willing to share that. All right, before we start, we always like to do a check-in. Embodiment is really about being connected to your mind, body, and soul. So we're gonna just take just a brief minute to just pay attention to our bodies and notice how we're feeling right now in this moment. And again, we're gonna let go of self-judgment. So however you feel is absolutely okay. And if you wouldn't mind typing that into the box, I would really appreciate it. So how does everybody feel right now? So if I were to do a check-in right now, I would say there's a lot of energy going on in my body because I'm presenting. How's everyone feeling? Excited and nervous, Carol? Yeah, same? Nervous meeting new people? Yes? Isn't that funny that we can have two seemingly contradictory feelings at the same time? Feeling the chaos of a busy week. Fatigued, yes, Jennifer. Anyone else want to share? All right, rushed, stressed, but happy, scattered and grateful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I am going to go ahead. Oh, feeling happy. Thank you, Sam, for sharing that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carol, and she has a story to share with us.
Thank you, Judy. So I have been afraid my whole life. I have been afraid of a lot of the typical things that you might think of, like bugs, little creepy crawlies. I'm afraid of snakes. And I'm also afraid of being high up. So you kind of get that queasy feeling when you're up really high and you look out down below. I'm also afraid of a lot of the things that people don't like to talk about because it's embarrassing or a little shameful. The failure or fearful of failing in public. The feeling of vulnerability, putting myself out there. Would people really like me if they saw the real me? Feeling afraid to let people down, like my mom. You know, if I took a different path, what would she think if we didn't align and I did something that didn't really jive with her? So this fear that I have is just coursing through my body, through my veins, and it basically encapsulates me. It paralyzes me many times. I feel like I've given over my power to fear. I let it take control, and I really let it take the lead. Has there been a time in your life where you've allowed fear to take the front seat, the wheel, and you've sat back? I'm sure there's been a time. So I wanted to start a business in jewelry when I had no business being in jewelry. I didn't know the first thing about a gemstone. I didn't know the properties of gemstones, how to cut them, how to tumble them. I didn't know what a cabochon meant or what a patina meant or how to solder any of these metals. What I did know, though, was I really believed in the power of words and thoughts and using those to move your day forward. I knew that that could have a lot of power over people, over different people. If you complimented someone, how could that move and elevate their day? So I've got this idea in my head of pairing beautiful jewelry with beautiful words and maybe getting it out into the world. There's only one big problem. So I'm really, really afraid to do that. How do I even start? Where do I go? How do I even voice this to someone? So again, I'm paralyzed by fear and I don't do anything with it. I let it sit and I think to myself, who am I to start a business anyway? I'm not a maker. I'm not an entrepreneur. Who am I? I'm no one. I'm nobody. So this idea that I have, this belief, this dream, this grand desire, it just sits kind of in the pit of my stomach and it lies dormant because I've told no one. And it's basically my dirty little secret. Have you ever been tired of being tired? Have you ever felt just so run down and gutted and you just don't have anything left to give? Have you ever also felt very moved, very compelled by something other than yourself, a calling, the voice inside of you kind of over your shoulder and it won't stop talking, yabbering away? That's kind of what I felt. So I had this great idea for what I wanted to do in life, but I was also very fearful. And so it began again, another chapter of my life where I would weigh what I wanted to do and the fear and which one was going to win out. And I kept feeling tired and tired of not moving and being in the same place and just being so stagnant and knowing what was to come, which was the same old stuff, that I decided to lean in to the unknown, because in the unknown, there was major growth, major discomfort, but also possibility. What exciting things could happen? I didn't know. And so I decided for once in my life, I was going to choose the discomfort and the unknown and my own beliefs, my dreams over the fear. And I decided in that moment to just say, screw this. I'm going to build an intentional jewelry business where I pair the beautiful pieces with the beautiful words. So I took control and I gave fear the back seat. Before I go on, though, I want to let you know that even though I took control and I made this decision, and in my head, I had already thought, okay, this is what I have to do, take these little baby steps to move forward. It's not like all of a sudden I woke up and the fear went away. I didn't just magically become fearless. If anything, the fear was still there, even maybe more magnified. But I used it. I harnessed the fear as my gas, my fuel, my momentum to push me forward. And so here we are. You know, I started this thing that I really love, and I love the goodness that it's put out into the world. But as it's growing and evolving, just like me, and I'm growing and evolving alongside this thing, there's actually a little part of me that doesn't quite care what happens to it in the end. Because in the end, I feel like I've already won. So I'd like you to look inside yourself, look inside that space where you keep those desires, those beliefs, those ideas hidden? What are you keeping as your dirty little secret that you're afraid to show? I'm sure you have so many ideas to share. I invite us all now to take maybe the next 3 minutes or so to write down 1 to 3 of the biggest things that you want out of your life and how you feel like fear is holding you back.
Thank you, Carol. We'll give you about 3 minutes to write a list. Okay. Hopefully you had a chance to write at least one thing down, hopefully more. And we're going to come back to this list in just a minute. Let's start by sharing, what does fear feel like in your body? Please type in the chat what it feels like to you. So for me, it's heart beating really fast. Stomach in knots, heart racing, tightness, wanting to throw up. Oh, yes. Hard to breathe. Thank you for sharing. So when you feel that fear, tightness and tenseness, thank you, Lindy. When you feel that fear, what do you think about yourself? When you feel that feeling in your body, how do you feel about yourself? I think I'm going to fail. That's what comes to mind. Doubting my abilities, unsure, not enough. Yes, I think that's fear of embarrassment. Oh my gosh, it's such a big thing. So when I used to feel fear, right away, my mind would say, oh, this is a signal. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I'm going to fail. So don't just stop what you're doing. And then I would just stop what I was doing. Feeling like I'm not that person, someone else would be better. Yes, Lindy, that's such a universal feeling. And the thing is, these feelings that we have of fear, they're not the problem. It's how we judge them that really makes the biggest impact. I'm going to share with you a TED Talk. And after this event, Lindy is going to go ahead and send an email out from WWIN, giving you a link to this TED Talk by a researcher. Her name is Kelly McGonigal, and she looked at the impact of stress on our body. And this applies because we label stress as a negative emotion, right? We label fear as a negative emotion. All these things are negative. We have a reaction to it. We have a belief about it. And she looked into this research about what stress actually does to our body. And there was a study out of Harvard that studied stress. And they had two different categories of people. In one category, the people who felt stressed, when they felt it, they would just get into this mindset of, oh, this is terrible. This is such a problem. I can't believe I feel stressed. And they looked at the blood flow in their blood vessels. And they found that when people were in the state of stress, their blood vessels would really constrict. So imagine a circle and it gets really constricted. Could you imagine the amount of work it takes for that blood to pump through that blood vessel? That's not healthy, right? It's very harmful to our bodies. Then they looked at another set of people. And these people, when they felt stressed, instead of labeling it or judging it, they thought it was helpful. They were like, oh my gosh, now I have the energy. Now I'm like ready to go. It's gonna get me to action. And they studied the blood vessel of these people. And do you know what their blood vessel looked like? Instead of constricting, it was relaxed. So imagine a wide open circle where the blood can freely circulate. And the blood vessel of people who label their stress as helpful, their blood vessels look the same as when someone is in a state of joy and courage. Imagine that. Imagine how we interpret, how we judge, how we label, how we feel makes a huge impact. It has physiological impact on our bodies. It changes how our bodies literally react. And it's the same with fear. And so if we learn, instead of running away from the fear, if we learn to sit with it and to change the way we interpret it, it gives us a choice. And I'm going to share a little screen with you. And that choice is, when you feel fear, you can either forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. Those are your two options. So I'd like you to go back to that list that you created at Carol's invitation and think about this. Let's go ahead and figure out, so we feel fear, right? It takes so much practice for us to sit with our fear. And along with a link to that TEDx talk, in the email that WWIN is going to send you after the event, there will also be a link to a meditation that I provided that you can listen to when you're actually feeling that fear. And so it'll help you sit with that fear and learn how to get through it instead of running away from it. What we're going to do is we are going to take one desire from that list that you made. And if you felt courageous enough to share, I would love for you to enter into chat what that is. And you don't have to. So if anybody wanted to share that, take a minute to do that. Okay, you can share later if you want. All right, so take one desire, one big one, something big, something you dream of, something that you're scared. Oh, Trisha wrote, my desire to double my income and work half the amount of time. That's such a good one, Trisha. I would think that would be a universal desire. Thank you for sharing that, Trisha. All right. And I'm going to share with you what my big dream is. So mine is creating an intentional space in a multi-story building where a community of businesswomen providing embodiment work like me and a membership community of women who we serve can connect and embody our truest selves and live the lives we're meant to live. I know that's a big mouthful. That's a big dream. Okay. So what do you need to make that big desire happen? So think about this for a minute. For me to create this, what would I have to do? So for you to create the dream, think big, think limitless possibility. What would you have to do, practically speaking? Okay. So I really sat down and thought, what would I need to make this happen? And so I'd have to generate enough income to rent or own such a building. So I'm thinking like $15,000 a month because this is Seattle and it's expensive. I'd have to bring 3 or 4 full-time businesswomen providers like me to partner up with me to help provide services. And I need to bring in some coworkers, women who aren't like fully partners, but coworkers, maybe 10 of them. And then I would need a community membership of 50 or more. Just looking at this list feels so big and overwhelming and impossible. So take a minute to write down what that looks like for you. What's the big dream? And if you really think about what it would take to create your big dream, how does that make you feel? I don't know about you, but my heart starts beating. That's how fear feels to me. And we have to learn how to sit with that. And again, I'll send you that meditation so you can go ahead and sit with it. But just as a quick summary, I invite you to put your hand over your heart and to give permission to yourself to feel it. Don't judge it. Welcome it in and recognize that our central nervous system cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. I want to remember, this is just imagined right now. That fear we're feeling, it's just imagined. We're creating that in our minds. Okay. So this feels really big and overwhelming. And if I were to look at this goal, I would say, no way, this is just impossible. So let's chunk it down. So let's take it another step down. So for me, this feels unrealistic. What could I do that felt a little more doable? So mine is create a smaller space with rent, maybe in the $5,000 range, have 2 full-time business partners, bring in 5 coworkers, and maybe a membership of 25. Okay, that feels a little better. That's doable, but it still feels really big for me. Trisha shared, raise my race and have big boundaries. Scary, yeah. So chunk it down, Trisha. All of you, take it down a notch. What's like the next step down? Take a minute to write it down. Okay, thank you, Sam, for coming. Be sure to catch recording to finish it. All right, so chunk it down. Okay. So I'm going to chunk mine down to something more manageable. Mine is create friendships with businesswomen whose missions align and can be potential partners, like my great friend Carol Gavhane here, and create a membership community that I can run solo, which I have done. All right, and the goal of doing this is to reverse engineer your big dream. So you to go from big to smaller, to smaller, to smaller, to smaller, to smaller, so you get it down to the most simplest of action that you can take. And mine, I'll share with you what mine was. find just one women's business group so I can attend one event with the intention of meeting one person that I find interesting out for coffee. That seems okay, right? That feels manageable. And I'd like you to work on this on your own, of taking that big dream, chunking it down till you get to that smallest step that feels really doable. And just to share with you, this even smallest step for me was huge, because one of my biggest fears was social anxiety, and meeting new people used to freak me out. So going to events would be a fear-inducing traumatic experience for me. But as I started going to events and continuing to embrace my fear and sit with it and allow it and work my way through it, it got easier and easier. And so I really truly believe that not only is fear our fuel, it can also serve as our compass. All right. How does everybody feel about this? Does this feel like it could be doable? Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share one of my favorite quotes with you. It's by Steve Jobs, and he says, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." So we're kind of connecting dots backwards here. And I look back at my dots of having this dream for the past 3 years, and I do see the dots going backwards. All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Carol now.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. So I think this is a good time for us actually just to take a moment and go through a little meditation exercise. And Judy, if you wouldn't mind, could you start
LP6.
Yeah, there's my speaker speaking.
the soft
Okay,
music?
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
ahead and play the
perfect.
music.
Okay.
Oops. Oops. There it goes. I'm having a
Okay.
little connection issue, so yeah. If you could just go ahead and start, Carol.
Okay. So I invite everyone to close your eyes if that feels okay to you. And maybe we can all take a big, deep cleansing breath. So take a deep breath through your nose, hold it, and slowly release through your mouth. And I want you to imagine that you're taking a walk somewhere out in nature. So it can be anywhere: the beach, mountains, a hiking trail, a forest. And on this walk, you're carrying a backpack. And this backpack is filled to the brim with little pieces of you that you've carried for years. The time when someone shamed you when you were just a little girl or a little boy. The fear you felt as a teenager. The doubt that accompanied you as a young adult. Every year of your life, you seem to accumulate more and more stuff, and it's really weighing your shoulders down. Notice the weight. It's so heavy. Now I want you to sit down wherever you are, on the beach, on the mountaintop, and I want you to take off this backpack. I want you to unzip it and slowly and deliberately release the things that are holding you back. All that fear, all the shame, all that doubt. So one by one, keep reaching in and keep releasing. And now I want you to zip up this backpack. Put it back on your back and continue your walk. How do you feel now? Do you notice how free you might feel? How light it is? How easy the walk is? And if you'd like, I invite you to repeat this either out loud where you are or maybe inside of yourself. I choose to use fear as my fuel. I choose to use fear as my fuel. I choose to use fear as my fuel. And whenever you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. How does everybody feel? Do you want to type in the chat box what that meditation felt like for you, or what you imagined taking out of your backpack? Calm. Thank you, Trisha. Soothing. Did everybody's backpack feel lighter when you imagine taking it off, taking all those things out? This is a visualization that you can do on your own. I left the backpack entirely. I love that, Linda. You didn't even put it back on. You were just like, I'm out of here. And anytime you feel weighed, I don't think we take into account how heavy all the things that we carry around, the emotional things that we carry around, how heavy that really is. And so this is an amazing and beautiful visualization that Carol provided with us of so that you can do on your own, to just imagine taking off the backpack, and as Lindy suggested, take it off entirely and don't even put it back on, let it go. Thank you so much, Carol. All right, so we are going to go ahead and share ways that you can keep in touch with us. So you can find Carol at ashabloom.com and me at judyleephotography.com. And if you have a social media presence, if you would like to follow us, we are both on Instagram and Facebook, and the information is available, or you can go ahead and email us directly. Again, we'll have all this information available to you in that email that WWIN will be sending out after the event, along with a recording.
Yeah.
Let's see, Oh, thank you. Yeah. And actually, here is the link to the email address. If you look in the chat box, Carol suggested it, and you can go here to get all the resources. I'll share with you quickly what's on there. So we'll include a guided meditation for when you feel fear, so you can learn how to walk through it instead of resisting it. Downloadable pocket affirmations provided to you by Carol to uplift you with beautiful messages. Both Carol and I have provided inspiring video messages where we share our experiences with fear. Mine was speaking. Carol, do you want to share really quickly what your video is about? Mine was my
Yeah, it's about a story from my youth and about roller skating. Kind of
super
a fun story.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how we have all these stories of fear and how there have been patterns, right, to how we've handled that as children. And then also there's a link to that TEDx talk that I mentioned about the blood vessels and whether they get big and small as a body's response to stress, and also our contact information. Does anyone have any questions before we move forward? Nope. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that screen with you and come back. And I invite all of us, I'm going to go ahead and unspotlight us so we're all back together so I invite you all to go back into gallery view. Okay. And we are going to close it out by playing some inspirational music.